Good evening, everybody. This is episode 36 of our Let's Play series in Space Engineer Survival, version 1.190.101. So I have finished the thrusters. I've also attached the drills, and I got another large cargo container and connector on the industrial complex. So we are ready to rock and roll with this thing. I've had to pick up a little bit more stone here and there, but I was able to use the MegaMiner to do it. I also have a camera and some lights. I ended up putting the camera off center because if I put the camera where I was originally going to put it, it would have been blocked by the drills and that wouldn't have been very useful. But anyway, we are all set to go. I am going to go through our GPS markers now and find an iron deposit that we can use. This one is within range of these two, rather, are within range of the salvage station, so we're not going to go there. Turn all these ones on and number them so that we can differentiate them on the screen. We've got 5 to choose from. Looks like the one over there by the magnesium's probably pretty good. That's iron 2. Yeah, I think iron 2 it is. It's the only one that's less than 50 clicks away. Alright, iron 2 it is. Alright, so reactor on, gyros on, thrusters on, lights on, access camera, turn off connector, load up. We want to get some height on because we can't really look around here, so we can't see when we're clear of the colonizer, which is a little bit disconcerting. It said colonizer up on the camera indicator, so I went out and back in, and that resolved that little inconsistency. We do have some shakiness, but it's not too bad. Alright. Gyros are a little sloppy. Well, there's a lot of power consumption when we're using those rear thrusters when we use 4 of them at a time. Might consider putting some more power on here somehow. I mean, we can always just turn the batteries on. Because, I mean, we're not engaging the thrusters. And we're just coasting. We're using practically 0 power. So yeah, using the batteries to help us accelerate and decelerate, or at the very least, I don't know that we necessarily need it for accelerating and decelerating, but at the very least when we're actually mining, and the inertial dampeners are trying to keep us in position, that may be a good time to turn the batteries on. Then we can recharge them while we're coasting and recharge them when we're docked and that kind of thing. Got up to speed pretty quick, a lot faster than the colonizer gets up to this kind of speed. 4 ion thrusters, I guess, will do that. Got the hotbar set up. We got the connector controls first, then the battery recharge, the reactor, gyros, engines, thrusters rather, lights, camera, Hotbar 2 is rotor controls, the piston and the drills and the ore detector. 3 is the antenna controls. 4 is our industrial facilities, the basic refinery, the O2H2 generator, and the assembler, basic assembler. That's it. So now we're just coasting over to this iron deposit, and hopefully it will be readily accessible. Something else I think I'm actually going to add to these industrial controls is on the basic refinery, I'm going to toggle the conveyor system. So that way we can turn the refinery on, but not have it suck stuff in. So if we want to just get rid of stone, we can do that while we're out and about, and then save the ore to go into the refinery with the yield modules back at the industrial complex. I think that will be a useful configuration to have readily accessible. We'll go ahead and turn the conveyors off there because I want to see if it'll automatically load stuff into the basic refinery that way. I think it shouldn't. I think it'll only force stuff in if there's nowhere else for it to go. But we'll see. Do an experiment. So our magnesium mine is over in this same general vicinity. Looks like it's in the same spot. But we're not going for magnesium. I think we're good on magnesium powder for the time being. But we want more iron because iron has been our bottleneck up to this point, really. Every time I need to get more stone because I'm out of resources, it's because I'm out of iron. So let's see if we can't get a little bit ahead of the curve here. So now that this is done, you know, obviously we've got access to a lot more resources now. We are going to be expanding the industrial complex, I think, and the goal is going to be to turn that into a fully fledged ship with, you know, room to walk around and gravity and get some jump drives and all that good stuff. But in the next episode, I am going to go back to doing some more scripting. I have not forgotten about the scripting that we're working on. The focus at that point is going to be on searching through connected inventories. First and foremost, we're going to look for the hydrogen in the connected hydrogen tanks, and then the O2H2 generators connected both to the cockpit for oxygen and to the hydrogen tanks for hydrogen, and engines for hydrogen also. And then looking further beyond that to connected cargo for the O2H2 generators for ice, and that same logic will be useful for the reactors to find uranium. And real quick before we do that, we'll get the batteries set up to read the current charge on them, because right now they're just doing the actual power throughput. They're not doing anything as far as the storage is concerned. That value in the cockpit of the colonizer now is just hard-coded, just to see what it'll look like. So that's the plan for next episode. And I'm really just trying to find things to say to fill time, so I'm not just sitting here while I coast to the iron asteroid. Let's do a little bit of a course correction here. We need to turn our drivers and engines back on and down a little bit, just a little bit. See, with the jiggle, it's kind of hard to tell when you're eliminating the additional velocity. But I don't know that there's really anything I can do about that, because I don't have room to stick a landing gear or anything to latch that on. I'm already sharing inertial tensors. I've got the rotor locked, so there's really not a whole lot of ways to get rid of that wiggle, I don't think. Maybe I can try turning the force up on the pistons. I'll look into it. Start slowing ourselves down a little bit here so we don't go crashing into this asteroid. That would be bad. And get our ore detector turned on, because I don't remember anywhere at all where this iron is. So we'll have to head to the bookmark, and the ore detector should be able to see it because this is a large grid ore detector. And at best we use the um, mobile construction module's large grid ore detector to find it, assuming we didn't use the colonizer small grid one. So we'll definitely be able to find it from the bookmark once we get there. And then we'll get lined up over it as well as we can and get to the drilling. Now the one time I have used this drill up to this point, well, the 2 times I've used the drill. First time I just had the 1 drill on it, and there was no point in rotating anything. The second time the drills were not actually complete, so I was using it kind of lopsided, and that was a little bit of a delicate operation. So we'll see how this goes when it's got all of its drills available. Should be easier. Kind of hard to see that asteroid behind the sun glare. Gotta be careful here, make sure I don't crash into it. But we've got pretty good acceleration on here, I think. This is not the colonizer though, so we don't have hydrogen engines as a backup. So if we're going too fast, we are just plain going too fast, and there's not going to be any fixing it. It will be a problem. Alright, our bookmark's split. Make sure we're pointed at the right one. Still got 2 clicks to go. Probably going a little bit slower than we need to. But better to go too slow and not hit the asteroid than be going too fast and hit the asteroid. That's my thought. And I'm not really sure what's up with oxygen consumption because the O2H2 generator's turned off. I do have my helmet visor shut. I have a full suit and a full oxygen bottle in my inventory as well, but I don't seem to be using any of it. Like, it doesn't seem to be reducing the oxygen level, and when I was actually, able to see what the precise oxygen level was in the cockpit, I was sitting there for quite some time, just kind of looking at the code and making plans and doing a couple of the little tinkery bits that I did off camera, and it didn't go down at all. So I'm not sure what the deal is with oxygen usage when you're in your suit with your visor shut. It seems like it doesn't really use it. I mean, clearly as soon as you get out, it starts using it, and you can tell it's using it because your indicator on the HUD starts to go down. Lights on? Yeah, lights are on. Okay. But that does not appear to be the case when you're sitting in the cockpit, even if you don't have an additional oxygen source connected. I'm not sure if that's a bug or what the role-playing excuse for that is, why that happens that way. Let's go a little bit faster. We really do have the acceleration to be able to justify it, I think. So it looks like the magnesium is actually on a little splinter asteroid up there at the top, whereas the iron's on the kind of main body. It is really hard to see that in the sun glare. I don't really know how well these lights will work. They're not spotlights or anything, they're corner lights, and they're actually on the sides of the thrusters, but there wasn't really a convenient place to put a spotlight that wouldn't have been blocked by the drills, so it didn't really make sense, I didn't think, to put spotlights on. Hopefully they'll be sufficient. I mean, I've got them turned up pretty much to max, like they're max radius and max intensity. So hopefully they'll do some good. You'll see. No, this might actually be on the other side of the asteroid, so maybe we won't see. Yeah, looks like it's on the light side right now. Oh well, that's fine. I don't mind being able to see better. And not be drilling into a glare. So, like I said earlier in the previous episode, we are eventually going to use the scripting block to control the drills, so we can do all of this kind of at once with the, hey, turn this on, it'll extend the piston, start the rotor, and all that good stuff. But you'll see that I've got an increase and a decrease there on the hotbar, and that's actually for the lower limit, I think. So it's set to unlimited now, but if I turn it down to 0, it'll put it back into its original position. So that's how that works. And it does have to do that, because if it's at all offset, then I mean, 90 would work, 180 would work, 270 would work, etc. Like the even 90-degree angles would be okay. But as long as it's at 0, the thrusters won't fry the drills. But if they're at all offset, then that's a possibility that we have to concern ourselves with. It looks like this is not a surface deposit, so we're going to be drilling through some stone to get to it. That's alright, that's something I'd kind of like to test out anyway. Still don't know where it is. The detector isn't in range yet. I'm comfortable that it will be by the time we actually get to the bookmark, because that's how I always set the bookmark, so make sure I can see it on an ore detector before I set it. Wouldn't be very helpful otherwise. It's like, oh, it's somewhere around here, I guess, maybe. There it is. Can we get in here? Reasonably sure we can't fit the ship in there. Oh no, and these lights are not particularly helpful. Not at this range anyway. I don't know how helpful the spotlights would really be at this range either though, so oh well. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's much of a crater there anyway. Alright, we're starting to get further away. Yeah, we lost the signal. Alright, we're just gonna drill through some stone then. Alright, I'm going back up. Try to find the closest point here. Since we are actually on board and can take direct control now, I wouldn't be able to do this if it was automated. I did check, there's no exposed API for converting to a station, but since we do have control, we can convert this to a station. Turn the engines off entirely, and start using the drills before we extend the piston. And that might be a good idea, because yeah, we've just made contact here. Alright, so inertial dampener's on. Do I want to do that? No, I really don't want to do that, because I don't have 92 meters worth of piston extension here. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and extend the piston, and it's going to push the ship back. Now again, we need to do this because once we're spinning, the engines will start frying the drills if we're too close. So now we will turn the drills on. Then we will turn the rotor on. We will disengage the lock. And we're spinning. And there's a little bit of jerkiness, but I think we're going to be okay. Like, we're kind of drifting a little bit, but I don't think we're drifting too much. And just every once in a while, I'm going to inch us a little closer. Let's take a look at the inventory, see what's happening. Yeah, there's nothing going into the basic refinery. Perfect. That is the preferred outcome. So that means we can manually add stone to the basic refiner if we get short on space. Which, with 100 meters to go before we actually get to iron, I mean, assuming it actually takes that long, because I think the way that the ore detector signals work is they actually mark the middle of the deposit. So we should get to the edge of it before we go 100 meters, I think. We'll see. But in any case, if we start running short on space, we can turn the refinery on and manually stick stone in there to free up room. And it won't suck in the ore. We can take whatever iron ore we end up with and take that back to the refinery with the yield modules at the industrial complex. Make the most efficient use of our ore possible. Yeah, we're definitely drifting a little bit here. The inertial dampeners aren't really quick enough to compensate for that torque, I guess. Almost makes me wonder if we'd be better off just using conveyor junctions instead of pistons, because then it wouldn't be a separate grid and it'd be a little bit more rigid. I mean, it would always stick out that far as the downside, but I don't know that that's necessarily a bad thing. What are we doing on space? Connector's full. It did stick it in the refinery. Meh. That is not a preferred outcome. Still got lots of room in the large cargo container, though. That might be something we have to script. Pulling ore out of the refinery. Unless we flip a flag. Because I did turn the conveyors off. And the refinery block itself is off. I am going to enable the batteries here because we're getting a little bit high on power consumption every time we inch forward. Between the 4 thrusters on the back and the other thrusters trying to do the inertial dampening, it's a little bit much. I don't think that's helping with the swerve. Now this is the same drill design as we've got down on the Earth-like planet, so another thing that we can do, and we never actually got around to doing this down on the Earth-like planet before we took off into space, is when we do actually penetrate this far enough to get to the iron deposit, we could set up an iron mine in the deposit that'll just mine for us, and then we can just come pick it up every now and again. And that might be a good thing to do, because otherwise we'll have to try to navigate directly down this hole, which is, you know, by definition, literally just big enough to fit the drills in. So unless we bring the colonizer down or something, a smaller ship, it will be a test of our maneuvering. Yeah, we're bouncing off the sides here a little bit. I don't know how comfortable I am with that. See, when I first started doing the design, I'd actually considered trying to find some way of getting landing gear to lock us onto the surface, but I couldn't really come up with any way of doing that that wouldn't constrain our ability to go deeper. Oh, the bouncing. I'm actually trying to correct a little bit myself here now. Maybe if I just let it go a little bit slower. Another thought would be to use more drills and not rotate it. Because the rotating it's definitely causing some counter torque here. Whoa, 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 hey, easy now. We do have these drills completed, so like the steel plates on the top are in. So hopefully that'll protect them and keep them from breaking. We do have the ability to replace parts, you know, on board, as long as we have sufficient materials. And everything down there can be made without actual ore. It can be made with stone. And there's no metal grids or anything that requires cobalt or anything like that. How are we doing? Large cargo container is nearly full. We still got quite a ways to go, too. See, it's one thing bumping the drills, it's another thing when we get a little bit further down here and we're actually going to be potentially bumping the ship itself. That concerns me. Now, it's possible if we had done the station conversion and used the piston to drill, that we wouldn't be having this problem. Does that mean I want to do that? Problem is that that's going to be a lot of inching. That certainly is not going to be terribly interesting to watch. Okay, we're full. So we'll turn the drills off. And then we will reduce the angle on the rotors to 0. That's too far. That was the piston. Missed 0. Go back up to unlimited and try to do it again. There we go. Now we got to 0. Now we'll lock it, turn it off, retract the piston. And we did not make it to the iron. So rather than leave, I'm going to turn the conveyor on because that didn't do any good anyway. I'm going to turn the basic refinery on, and I'm going to pop out here and check on the condition of our drills and see if anything needs any fixing up. It'll be the ones on the edges. I don't have to worry about the ones inside because they're protected by the ones on the edges. Looks like they're all okay. Just sounded pretty bad when I was bumping up against stuff there. But it is alright. So now we're just going to chew through this, and it's probably going to take a little while. Really should have just been running this the whole time. Anyway, it's a fairly successful test, I guess. Like I said, I'm a little bit worried about how much we jiggle. One potential way around that is to get as close as we can to the surface here. Maneuver our way into the hole. Yeah, you see why I don't really like this idea, because this is a kind of a delicate operation. I feel like I'm going to slam into something. I guess I'm going slow enough, it doesn't really matter, because the drills are designed to take a little bit of punishment. And now that we're pressed up against it, convert to station. And now we don't move. So now that we're a station, I can, first of all, turn the rotation back up to unlimited. And then if I, just a quick test here because we don't really have the cargo space to do much. Although, I mean, we've got the drills are empty, so we can fill the drills up. And we do have some space in the large cargo container now. So we can test this out real quick anyway. Turn the rotors on, turn the drills on, turn the locks off, and I'm going to have to slow that piston down. It's 0.05. That should be fine. And now if I reverse that, that'll just slowly extend, and we're locked into place here. Oh, I probably should have legitimately turned the engines off. I mean, they're not actually firing, so it's probably safe, but it's safer to turn them off. I mean, we're a station. It's not like we can move. We can't go anywhere. But yeah, see there, passing in front of the exhaust port there, so these conveyor junctions have the potential to get pretty fried. Looks like they didn't, because we were stopped and turned into a station by the time we started spinning. But that's the idea, is that you can convert it into a station and then turn the engines off. And then when you start spinning, the engines are off and they're not going to fry anything. So yeah, I think that might be a better way to do it, because that was just way too much jiggle, and that made me nervous. I mean, if we're doing some light surface mining or whatever, yeah, we don't really have to worry about all that. We can just extend the piston out and scratch along the surface a little bit. But for any legit drilling, I think it makes sense to go ahead and convert to a station and keep it nice and slow. We do have a space issue. I think that's still a thing. Drills aren't quite full yet. That one is. And that one is. So a couple of the drills are full. So yeah, we'll go ahead and pull it back up and turn the drills off and decrease the lower limit back to 0 so it locks in. I missed it again. This is why I use script, because it'll just set it to 0. Then when it rotates into place, it will stop. And then you can lock it and turn it off and turn the limit back up. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I'm going to continue drilling here after I'm done processing the stone that I've got, see if we can get down to the iron deposit before I run out of space entirely. We did extend the piston some, so I'll probably convert back into a ship and inch my way down further into the hole. But that's basically going to be the way that this works, I think. You convert it to a station, extend the piston as far as it'll go, retract it, turn it into a ship, move forward, turn it into a station, extend it, and just back and forth like that. And that's a little bit finicky, I think. So I don't know. The problem is there's really nowhere that we can put like a landing gear on here, because landing gears are 2 blocks. So like if we get down far enough, we can't just lock onto the side. No, I can't even really fit one there. So yeah, it's not really ideal. Go ahead and recharge the batteries while we're at it. We only really need the power to run the engines, the thrusters. But anyway, I'm going to keep doing this for a little while, and in the next episode, I'll update on my progress, and then we'll get back into some scripting in the colonizer. Maybe do some scripting on here instead, honestly, I'm not sure, because that whole thing with the rotor is a little bit screwy. But either way, we'll do some scripting next time. So subscribe to catch that. Likes, comments, and verbal abuse are always welcome. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.